about it. So the hockey stick was debunked. The hockey stick was a fabrication. The hockey stick graph that they use to show global warming is a myth.
It's a sham.
It's been debunked already.
And I'm sure this information appeared on the front page of every newspaper on Earth.
No.
It did not.
No. In fact, according to that DVD, Al Gore is still showing the hockey stick.
He did in the DVD.
Yeah, he is showing the hockey stick, and it's already been debunked. So something that tells me that some of these people don't even care what science is. They don't even care. They're so on this agenda to stop humans from burning fossil fuels that they don't care.
Let's discuss some of their theories, models, methodology. How do these two arrive at such a different conclusion? Is their data different? Are they studying it differently?
Well, they're pointing out that these models that are used to predict climate are an art and not a science. A model is a work of art done by a person who makes models, okay? And the modeler has to take and eliminate all kinds of variables. They got to take things that are variable and make them constant because the complexity is so great that you can't even write equations that have enough of the variables that would influence the climate. Let's just take one, for example. How much of the energy of the sun that comes to the earth is reflected back out? All right? Well, that's a variable.
Sure it is.
It depends on aerosols and things in the air and all kinds of things. It's not always the same. But in a model, it becomes a constant.
They've homogenized all of this.
Well, they have
in this
to.
Case, yeah.
They have to, because they have to decide what are we going to leave as a variable, and then what are we going to factor in just as a constant or ignore altogether, so that we can create some sort of equation that can be calculated by a computer. All right? So the model is not a picture of reality. It's a work of art. Now, McKittrick and Essex show that you could take a certain model that shows future global warming, take one of the things that they made constant, and just change it.
Tweak it a little.
Tweak it a little bit, which it actually does in the real world.
Sure.
Just tweak the one thing that really does change in the real world, plug it back in, and then you get global cooling.
A whole new ballgame.
Yeah. So this thing is absolutely not showing us what actually will happen in the future. Let's go back to our example. The local weather forecaster is using a model. Mm-hmm. All right? He has to. There's too many variables. But his model is better. For one thing, a meteorologist has a life experience. He can watch the same things happen year after year after year and see very similar situations and get better at the art part of it.
Right.
Okay? So, you know what? I've seen this situation, and this is what happens.
They use historical data to inform their view of the next 2-3 days.
Yeah, and their data is much better because it's gathered at the same location, and it's something they've worked with before.
Right.
Nobody's worked with climate unless they were alive during the Ice Age. Okay? Climate happens over centuries and centuries, not years and years. So the local weather forecaster has many more opportunities to be accurate than a guy studying climate. Okay?
Sure.
All right? So the fact is that the local weather forecaster's model is very imperfect. The climate model is just a slight improvement over a wild hunch.
Not good at all.
Well, the point is, we're not saying that people shouldn't study these things and that they shouldn't try to understand what we can understand about the world. I'm not against science. I studied science, and I believe in human rationality. I believe that we can understand the world we live in order to survive on the face of the earth, and we need to. But we can't make public policy based on something that we don't know, cannot know, and is simply kind of a shot in the dark.
What a dangerous place to go, wouldn't you agree?
Well, it just doesn't make any sense to be trying to make conclusions and to tell the entire world population, you have to take action. You have to shut down your industries. You have to impoverish yourself. You need to quit using whatever fuel's available to you, whether it's oil from the ground or wood or coal or any other kind of fossil fuel, because we say that you doing that is going to make the earth get warmer, even though we can't possibly know that that's true.
How could we, our society, our industrialized world, how could we continue without people drove vehicles, without they produce CO2?
We can't.
We can't.
No. So you have to stop the industrialization of the world.
Okay. Let's stop the industrialization of the world. We stop commerce, we stop business, we stop trucking, we stop everything. What then?
Well, then millions of people die, and then you start solving the CO2 problem. If you have enough people in the world die of starvation, then you're going to have less people producing carbon dioxide.
Who benefits? The elite?
Nobody. Maybe the people that want to have one world government. Yeah, who benefits? I don't think anybody benefits.
That's the question no one's asking. If there's no one around to reap the benefits,
yeah,
what's the point?
Well, you know, this book that we're talking about, it's a fabulous book. I recommend it, especially if you studied science at a college level or mathematics. I took all this myself. I studied differential calculus. I even had to use differential calculus to do quantum mechanics, which was a pain, and I hated the class. And I saw my notes a few years ago. My mom found my old college paper. It looks like hieroglyphics. I could not do that now. But the point is, it's an excellent book. One of the things that these authors point out is this idea of adaptability, human adaptability. They said it's amazing how humans are adaptable to a lot of things. In other words, people manage to survive in rudimentary ways, even in severe climates like Eskimos.
Okay.
And people survive a lot of difficulties and learn how to adapt to the situation. The more economically prosperous people are, the more adaptable they are. What does that mean? Well, it means, for example, a prosperous people can insulate their houses, they can heat their houses, they can pay for air conditioning.
Develop new means to cope or adapt.
Yeah, and they can use their resources to do research in agriculture, to find crops that will grow under a wider range of climate conditions, crops that will grow better. Actually, we need to talk about it. We'll wait till the next show here. I'm going to talk about CO2 and the environment, okay?
Sure.
But the fact is, the more you impoverish people, the less adaptable they become, and the more they are at the mercy of the elements, so to speak.
More susceptible to their own physical demise.
Yeah, exactly. And so here we have our own leaders. I don't know, the politicians in both parties say they're believers in global warming. And we just got done with a big summit, and they were coming back and talking about global warming and how we have to have global action for global warming. They're believing that we need to impoverish as many people as possible and stop the industrialization of the world in order to, stave off this catastrophe that nobody knows is coming.
Well, there's a catastrophe coming at the end, but we're convinced it's not caused by human beings.
Yeah, God's going to judge the world. They're not even talking about that one.
Right.
They don't believe in it. So, dear Christians, I would urge you to do some reading about this. This article that we're talking about that I wrote is a summary of that book. And so if reading a book on science maybe is a little more than you want to do, you can get issue number 106. It'll be on our website, May-June 2008, issue 106 of Critical Issues Commentary, and get informed about this. We need to start somewhere, okay? Sure. And of all the people that ought not to be deceived on the face of the earth, Bible-believing Christians should be front and center.
They should be at the front of the line.
Yeah, we should be at the front of the line, not being deceived by this globalist myth of man-caused global warming.
Well, I'm gonna continue to feel bad about driving my sport utility, but okay. I'm sure I'll deal with that. Well, thanks for joining us, everyone. If anyone would like to visit our church, remember it's Twin City Fellowship. We're located in Minneapolis Our phone number is 952-935-3100. Again, 952-935-3100. And we are on the web at www.cicministry.org. For Critical Issues Commentary, Todd Kramasz here.
And Bob DeWaay.
And thank you, folks. We'll talk again soon.